student using percentile rankings like SAT, GRE. Important thing is with the result, it has purpose of comparing with each student. Okay, who got the highest score? Okay, who got the second highest score? That is comparison. So we call it, that method is norm referenced evaluation. Okay, SAT, GRE. There's a percentile of the rankings, right? And then another method that we can use is criterion referenced evaluation, which measures the student performance against predefined criteria or learning objectives, like classroom rubrics or state proficiency tests. It is simple. When you do criterion reference evaluation, it is nothing to do with comparing your result with each other students. Okay, it is just method that making sure students understand, students can perform based on the learning objectives. That is criterion reference evaluation. Okay, here we'd like to watch a short video. It is comparison between norm referenced test and criterion referenced test. We call CRT, criterion reference test, and RT, norm reference test. Okay, let's see.
Let's differentiate the norm reference tests from criterion reference tests. Let's do examples first. Examples of non-reference tests are standardized aptitude tests, teacher-made survey tests, interest inventories. Example of interpreting a result: a learner ranks fifth in classroom group of 40, and is also often used for proficiency or placement decisions. Digit whole numbers correctly and accurately. As for their definitions, non-reference tests compares individual results to the results of other children. While criterion reference test compares results to predetermined criteria, not compared to other children. What does it determine? Non-reference tests determine the child's overall developmental level in a specific area compared to same age test takers, while criterion reference tests determine mastery of content often pertaining to curriculum or program content. How is it administered? For non-reference tests, a standardized test is given individually to the student. It is a scripted format to ensure it is administered the same way to all. Students have little to no knowledge of the content of the test prior to the assessment. format without set directions. It can be used as a pre or post assessment to determine students' prior knowledge and assess their new learning and retention of information taught. As to scoring, for non-reference tests, scores are distributed on a bell or normal curve. Row score pertains to the number the student get correct. This row score is converted to a norm score. Norm scores can be represented in various ways, such as a percentile or grade equivalent. Example, if a student scores in the 90th percentile, it is said that the test taker performed better than 90% of the individuals taking the test. Well, for criterion reference tests, test scores can be represented in various ways. The number of correct answers is based on predetermined set of criteria. It can be scored as a percentage, met or not met, pass or fail, etc. Individual scores can be compared to a class to give the teacher an indication of effective teaching as well as students' understanding concepts. Results are used to measure mastery of specific material. Hope you can now differentiate the non-reference tests from
Okay, so that's the comparison between norm referenced comparison. And criterion referenced test, right? The difference is norm referenced test is comparison between students, okay? Mostly it is calculated as percentile of grade, right? Like like some people get A, or other students get B or 3 when you grade, right? And then also it is comparison between students' performance, like who has the best score, who has the second best scores, something like that. That is norm referenced test. And then criterion reference test is simple. Okay, if student can understand the standard of the subject and then the learning object of the certain subject, right? So it should be like fail or pass. That is criterion reference test. Okay, next. Okay, so also there's another purpose of evaluation, that is program and course evaluation. Okay, let's say beyond students' assessment, evaluation also examines the educational program and instructional effectiveness. Okay, so also it does course evaluation, which is like surveys and feedbacks. The mechanism assess teaching quality and curriculum effectiveness. That is the purpose of evaluation. So another purpose of evaluation that we can do is accreditation reviews. It is like external agencies, accreditation agencies. There are many in the US, right? So they evaluate institutions based on educational standard and outcome and performance. So for those reason the evaluation is used. Yes, specifically accreditation review. So these are all purpose of evaluation. Okay. Okay, there are some other ways for assessment and evaluation. Okay, here we call assessment and evaluation models. Okay, first, we like to see Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, that provides hierarchical framework for designing assessment that measures cognitive skills at different levels. Okay, for example, okay, it is a shape of assessment of pyramid shape. Okay, first we do assessment remembering, that is recalling of facts, like multiple choice questions, right? Do you remember we just learned a certain equation of math, right? So you can do multiple choice questions, remembering. Then the next one is understanding. That is explanation of concepts like short answer and responses. Okay, you can do it directly in the classroom to your students. And then also another one is applying. That uses of knowledges and practical scenarios. Okay, like problem solving exercises. Okay, then next one is analyzing, which is identifying relationships and patterns. For example, data interpretation tests, right? In this world, we face a lot of data flooded in this virtual world or in real world, right? There are so many data. So with this analyzing, you can compare the numbers that shows data, right? For example, we have population, many different population. The ethnic groups in here, Los Angeles, right? We can see the different number of certain ethnic groups, like white, African American, the Asian Americans, among Asian Americans, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Filipino, something like that, right? Then we can find the number of data, and then also we can analyze with those different numbers. And then next one is evaluating, making judgment, making decision. That is based on the evidence. What is the evidence? Collecting the data, right? So it could be, debates or critics, also used for evaluating. Then the last one is creating, that producing original work and research project. And then artistic compositions is example of creating, right? Artistic composition, you do artwork, you do some kind of research project about climate changes, something like that, right? So let's see how this is working. Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, let's watch another short video of how we do use assessment and evaluation.
The Center for Academic Success presents Bloom's taxonomy, a classification of learning levels. It maps the way we think and process information. The levels of learning are remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. The lower levels are more straightforward and fundamental, while the higher levels are more complex. Let's see how Bloom's taxonomy can help you with your learning. Level 1, remembering. Remembering is maintaining basic knowledge through rote learning or memorization. This may be how you studied in high school, but college testing will require you to do more with the information. Level 2, understanding. Understanding is being able to restate the information in your own words. It allows you to construct meaning and explain what is happening. These levels of learning, when firmly in place, will provide a strong foundation as you advance in the learning process.
Remembering and understanding information is important, even at the college level. Each college course has several new concepts, terms, procedures, and functions that you need to remember and understand. Once you have a solid understanding of the new concepts, it's easier to see how something works, or why it works.
Level 3, applying. College testing requires you to use what you've learned in the previous levels to solve problems. Application requires you to make connections, compute or solve problems, and to transfer abstract ideas into practical situations. Level 4, analyzing. After you apply your knowledge, you may need to analyze it or break the material down into separate components. Analysis allows you to illustrate relationships to one another and overall structures. You will be able to recognize unstated assumptions, logical reasoning, and relevancy of data.
At these levels, you can tell if you really know the information well enough to take a test. You can answer questions such as what if, or why, or how would something work.
Level 5, evaluating. You will need to judge, criticize, and assess information using what you know to make decisions and support your views. You have to think critically at this level and have a profound understanding of a concept or discipline. Level 6, creating. Creating is the highest level in which you combine elements to form a coherent or functional whole. It requires inventiveness and originality to plan and form new structures. Creating brings together all levels of learning to theorize, design, and test new products, concepts, or functions.
For my final psychology project, it became really clear to me how important it was to really understand the different terms, concepts, and functions. I was able to use this information to evaluate and create the best process to make the experiment work.
Just as a strong foundation is critical for supporting a structure, building strong foundational concepts will allow you to think critically and creatively within your course content. To recap, Bloom's levels of learning will help you target the level and type of learning needed to be successful. For more information on Bloom's taxonomy or any of our workshops, visit the Center for Academic Success website.
Okay, alright, Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it is one more time remembering. Okay, record of facts. Okay, and then understanding. You have to explain of the concepts. State the damn state that you learn. Okay, then also applying. Use it, your knowledge in practical scenario. Analyzing, identify the relationship between factors. Okay, the data. And then also you find out the meaning of that data that is analyzed. Okay, another one, next one is evaluation, making judgment. right? Making decision. Then creating. You do produce original work, like you do some kind of unique research project, and then you perform artistic performance, like paintings, and also it could be, literature, yeah, performing art. That might be, work for creating. Okay, another model that we are talking about is Kirkpatrick's 4-level evaluation model. And this model assesses training and educational effectiveness based on 4 levels, which is reaction, that measures students' satisfaction and engagement. Next one is learning, that assesses knowledge gained. Okay, another one is behavior, that evaluates how students apply knowledge in real-world settings. Then the result, that is
equivalent to participant satisfaction with the training. This level assesses what they really think of the training and is done through questionnaires. Level 2, learning. Done through performance tests, this level evaluates the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and attitudes of the participants according to the training objectives. Level 3, behavior. This level determines if the participants' behaviors have changed following the training by evaluating the transfer of the knowledge, skills, and attitudes acquired during the training to the workstation. This evaluation is done 2 to 3 months after the training by means of a survey or interview in order to observe the targeted behaviors. Level 4, organizational results. This last level evaluates the impact of the training on the organization by measuring indicators such as productivity, turnover rate, and quality of work. Although this is the most important level, it is rarely done because of the difficulty in linking the effects of the training to the measured outcomes. By evaluating training with Kirkpatrick's model, organizations will have the opportunity to improve the quality of the training offered to their employees, as well as the effectiveness of the training activities they participate in. We have now reached the end of this week's Training Minute. See you next week. For more
okay. One more time. Kirkpatrick's 4-level of evaluation model. That is, model assesses training and educational effectiveness based on the 4 levels. Those 4 levels are reaction. Reaction means that is measuring students' satisfaction and engagement. Okay. Next one is learning, that assesses knowledge gained. How much knowledge they achieved, you can assess. That is learning. Then behavior, that evaluates how students apply the knowledge in real-world settings. That is behavior. Then the result, that is examining long-term educational and career outcomes. That is result. So what we're talking about was Kirkland's 4-level educational model. Okay. Then also we have another model for assessment and evaluation, which is Daniel Sufferban's KIPP model. That is context. KIPP stands for CIPP. That stands for context, input, process, product. The KEEP model provides a structural framework for evaluating educational program levels. Okay, this one has a different level. Okay, you do simple CIPP, context, input, process, and products. Okay, let's see what is C means. Context evaluation. Okay, you identify needs and goals of education. Okay, why we do this? Why we learn certain knowledge? Okay, that is context evaluation. Then the next one is input evaluation. Actually, you examine the resources and strategies. Okay. Another one, next one is process evaluation. Actually, that is monitoring the implementations. Then last one is product evaluation. That assesses overall effectiveness and impact of education. Alright, so let's see how CIPP works in educational setting.
Hello friends, happy to meet you again with an interesting video of Daniel Stufflebee's CIPP evaluation model. This topic is related to the MN course of curriculum evaluation. I am Dr. Evangeline Whitehead, created and presenting this video. Daniel Stuffelbee, 1936 to 2017. The CIPP model was created in the year 1966 by Daniel Stuffelbee and it is updated up to 2002. His evaluation model is a decision-oriented approach. The CIPP evaluation model is a comprehensive framework for guiding evaluations of programs, projects, personnel, products, institutions, and systems. CIPP is defined as a systematic collection of information about the activities, characteristics, and outcomes of programs to make judgments about the program, improve program effectiveness, and or inform decisions about future programming. CIPP is an acronym for context, input, process, and product. This CIPP model shows the goals, plans, actions, and outcomes of the CIPP model. CIPP is an evaluation model that requires the evaluation of context, input, process, and product in judging a program's value. The CIPP model is an attempt to make evaluation directly relevant to the needs of decision makers during the phases and activities of a program. Context evaluation. CIPP evaluation model begins with context evaluation and it focuses on the requirements. It assesses the needs and goals and it selects, validate, and prioritize the requirements like the resources, beneficiaries, problems, needs, background, and environment. In this stage, the needs of the beneficiaries are identified along with the availability of the potential resources on hand, and the problems are also identified and overcome. Assessment of overreaching goals, exploring background information, and cultural context are all components of this stage of evaluation. It answers the question, what needs to be done? Input evaluation. Input evaluation focuses on planning and designing about stakeholders, strategies, budget, coverage, and research. Suitable stakeholders and suitable strategies of the program are identified in this stage. It assesses options, planning, budgeting, scheduling, and designing. This stage also collects information about planning and strategies for implementation, including human resources and timelines. It answers the question, how should it be done? Process evaluation. Implementing actions, developing, monitoring, executing, and giving feedback. Process evaluation focuses on the implementation of the action, developing, monitoring, and execution of the plans, and it gives feedback. It covers the actual work happened and testing. It answers the question, is it being done well? Product evaluation. Product is the total outcome of the evaluation. It talks about the impact, effectiveness, transportability, sustainability, and adjustment. Product evaluation focuses on the result. The evaluators measure the outcomes of the program and thoroughly analyze how effectively these outcomes are being addressed. It answers the question, did the effort succeed? CIPP evaluation model provides a way to obtain evidence-based data with which to validate findings and develop a clear understanding of the process and problems encountered when creating learning spaces. To undertake an evaluation study using CIPP, evaluators must take into consideration the feasibility of the project scope, significance of the evaluation, project outcomes, and the equity of the project makers and the stakeholders. CIPP's comprehensive approach to evaluation can be applied from program planning to program outcomes and fulfillment of core values. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so CIPP model is about context, input, process, and products. Okay, one more time, context evaluation is you need to identify what is the needs, what is the goal, and then input evaluation. You examine what is resources, what we can use, and what is the strategy to achieve the goal, that is input evaluation. Okay, then the process evaluation, that is monitoring implementations. Implementations is a real word, applying, setting to real word, apply. And then product evaluation, that assesses overall effectiveness and impact of the education. All right. Then, okay, I think, next small chapter we're gonna do is technologies in assessment and evaluation. Okay, with assessment in educational technology, assessment and evaluation that has become more efficient and data-driven way. Let's see. Okay, you guys heard of Learning Management System, LMS, that is platform like Moodle, Blackboards, that is facilitating online quizzes, discussion board, analytics, and file upload and file download. It has many various functions. Actually, settings move to a virtual world of real world classroom. Okay, that is learning management system. It is good, a way to use technology in assessment and evaluation. Then adaptive testings, that is AI-driven assessment that is adjusting difficulties, right, based on students' responses. So some students have, different, the students or they have different responses based on their level of understanding in certain knowledge, right? So you could use AI tool to assess different level of students learning. It is like Duolingo English tests and GRE too. Yeah, these are all AI driven testings. Then the data analytics and dashboards, that is providing real-time insights into students' progress and engagement. Okay, nowadays when we use technology, high technologies adopted in classroom settings, like Moodle, that is learning management system, and with the help of many good tools, like for example Google Classroom, you can do some kind of data analysis in classroom. Okay, it gives you data, it gives you number. Okay, certain group of students are always getting lower scores on tests. Why? And then with the help of technology, it gives you some kind of analytic, result, because those students are coming from, lower educational family backgrounds. So that means most of those students, their parents don't pay much attention to child education. That's why some group of children coming from certain area, they don't do good on the test. It's because of the parents in that area, they all go to work, and then when they come to home, back home, they really don't look out about their children's performance in studying. So that's why because they are too busy to make their living. So that might be the reason, right? So with technology, we put the data and then it gives the analysis. Okay. Another small chapter is principle of effective assessment. Okay, when we do assessment and evaluation, we have to maintain those important principles. Okay, based on that principles, we make less mistake. Okay, so which is validating. You collect the data, they should be useful to assess. Okay, so measures what is intended to assess. Okay, when you do quiz in the classroom for your students, you give tests, then student answers on the quiz, right? Then you get the score. Okay, that is valid because you gave test, you get the result, and that is used for assessment. That means validated. Okay. Okay. Let's say some student didn't take the test, and then they wanna do some kind of report about the test they missed. So you have to make decision if you can use that report as replacement of quiz or not. Okay, if you do it, it is valid. So valid means the intention, what you're gonna do with that data, that result of the test. That is validity and then reliability. Okay, that is produced consistent result over time. Okay, consistent result over time means let's say one semester you just take quiz only in first day of the class. Okay, whole semester. I think that quiz is not valid, that is not reliable, because you took only one test, just only 5 quizzes for, let's say, math class, right? If you do it one, I have to make doubt about it. Maybe I don't want to use that data. If you do, like, let's say, 5 days, let's say 2 times a week for each math class, and then you collected like 10 tests, that might be good data to use for evaluation, right? So that means you have to consistently do a certain kind of collecting the data from the students. That is reliability. Okay, and then fairness. That is accommodated diverse learning needs and backgrounds. Okay. Fairness, like I said, people, students, they have all different background. Background might be, like cultural background, educational background. So when you do tests, you kind of adjust the test level to students' learning, understanding, level of understanding of the knowledges, right? So that is fairness. Let's say, okay, you are art teacher, okay, or like performing art teacher. Let's say some student comes from high income area, okay, then she does after school, she learns her dance in after school academy, like personal training, right, private training for her dance, right? And then other students come from lower income family, right? So that student doesn't have any, after school practice. She didn't have any chance to do, take the class from private, teachers, right? So with that is the factor. So you cannot do, you cannot test same, test for those 2 different students. They have 2 different cultural, economical background. So both do well. Maybe you could give a different score for their performance. Okay, because some students take advantages of their parents, right? So it should be considered, I think, when you do performance test. That is fairness. And then transparency. That means clearly you have to communicate with students, what you want from students, and what you're gonna do to your students. Okay. Hey guys, I want something from you. Okay, at the end of this semester, I want this. So you guys have to perform certain things that I want. Okay, that is expectation, right? And criteria might be, might be various, like the attitude in the classroom, right? And then collaboration with other students, that might be criteria. Yeah. Okay. Then, okay, this is a screenshot of learning management systems. Okay. I just show part of the learning management system. Okay. We use this program Class 365. Okay. This is administrator page. Okay. When you log into your, as teacher and administrator, I can log into, so I can see the data. It doesn't show well, you see the graphs, right? So you can see the students' performance, then see the numbers, you see right there, right? Yeah. Then, so that gives meaningful analysis about students' performance, and then how you teach to the students. Then it shows numbers about learning outcomes. Yeah. So that is help of technology. Okay. So without those help, always we have to write down numbers. We have to compare different numbers. It takes a lot of energy and time. Also, it gives a lot of headache, right? So with help of those programs, you can do better on your assessment and evaluation. That's help of technology. Okay, also using data. Okay, it is very important. Data is giving guidance to how you, the way you teach for students. So it is instructional guidance. Eventually, you want to improve how you can teach to the students, right? So that gives guidance with from the assessment data. Also, it has function of identify students' strength and weak area, and then the area of they need to grow, develop. Okay, when I take the tests, right? Simple math tests, like grade 3rd, grade 4, but you see all the result of the math test, right? So certain student, she does really good on multiplication of numbers, but always fail on division of numbers, right? Also, some students might be good at adding numbers, but some students that who are very weak of subtracting the numbers. So that is the point, right? So you can specify the area. Hey, John, you have to develop this area. This is a weak point. Okay, you have to do more work for the subtracting or number division. then you can be, you can have balanced, knowledge about math, add, subtract, multiply, divisions. So with assessment, you can get that data. Also, with that data, you can inform school officials, higher, hierarchical leaders in school, right? Like, school president, school principals, vice principals, right? So you collect the data in one semester about certain group of children, they do math class, right? So you get the data. Hey, yes, I got the data, but some children coming from a low income family, they have lower score of math problem. Some other students coming from high income area, like Beverly Hills, something like that, yeah, they always have good score of math test. So with that data, school leaders, hey, okay, let's see what we can do to improve math skill for students who coming from low income family, right? So that is useful data for development of math skill for low income students for coming from low income family. Yeah. So that is data we can use to develop. Okay, let's see. Short video 2, it is about the data use, how we can use the data.
Hello. They say knowledge is power, and it's true, but it's only powerful if you can make the most of it. Schools tend to have a large amount of assessment data. While it's relatively easy to collect assessment data, interpreting it can be harder. Data is useful on different levels and is a vital tool when monitoring and shaping the future teaching of individuals or groups. As well as it being there to help you prepare, it's also available for whole school accountability and reporting. When you know what you're looking for and how best to break the data down, the sooner you can use it to full effect. So here are our tips on how to make the most of your assessment data. Rationalize data you need to make sure it meets your needs. The purpose and use of data needs to be clear, relevant to the intended audience, and in line with school values and aims. Look to the future. Look not only at present attainment, but at pupils' rates of development as they move through the school, and use this insight to shape classroom practice. Be adaptable. Question level analysis data allows teachers to identify areas of strength and specific questions or whole topic areas that cause difficulty.
Something like this, right? Areas of strength, areas of weak. Yeah.
Allowing you to tailor support appropriately. Notice the details. If data for a particular pupil or class is not what you expected, think about contextual factors that may explain the differences. For example, the impact of age relative to their peers is particularly relevant for young children. And lastly, appreciate the averages. Remember that in a small school, class or year group, individual pupils can have a disproportionate impact on percentages. Have you found an effective use for your assessment data? Use the comment section below to share your experience. Visit NFER's Assessment Hub for...
Okay, another short video, more explanation about data using. Okay.
Today we're going to take a look at how assessment data is used in other ways than understanding student progress. Assessment data is commonly used as feedback for teachers to plan future instruction and for evaluating teachers or schools. While the most obvious purposes of assessment are to evaluate student learning, assessment also plays an important role in providing feedback to the teacher about classroom learning. By analyzing the information collected from assessments, teachers are able to evaluate their own effectiveness and potentially change their instructional practices to improve students' learning. As teachers, we should be asking ourselves two relevant questions each time we review student assessment results. These are, did I actually teach the content matter that has been assessed? And did I teach it thoroughly to the level of the assessment so that the results are an accurate portrayal of student learning? If we do not reflect on these questions, we assume the assessment results are an objective measurement of student performance. However, if the results demonstrate that many students struggled in a specific skill or on a specific item, the assessment should be considered feedback on our teaching. Assessment results may be useful for planning future instruction. Test results may aid in formulating IEPs, individual educational programs, for students who are having difficulties. Assessment data can be particularly useful in the areas of reading and math to better provide students with materials at their particular level. Assessment data can also inform the effectiveness of classroom teaching and activities and may guide what changes need to be made. For parts of instruction that are aligned to specific curricular expectations, assessments can help us identify what has or hasn't been learned or understood by students. Then, instruction can be organized so that students receive the appropriate support. By analyzing assessment data at the beginning of the year, we can identify students' strengths, the areas they need help with, and plan our long-term goals based on these results. Assessment data is often used to evaluate teachers and to evaluate school performance. Data from national standardized tests linked to curriculum is often used to judge teacher quality. In many places, student scores may influence teacher hiring, promotion, or retention decisions. Teachers' pay may be linked to the progress of their students on standardized assessments. Unfortunately, significant research has found that student progress is rarely indicative of the learning that occurred with that single teacher. Student scores could just as easily be influenced by many factors such as socioeconomic status, age of the students, and previous exposure. Schools and school systems are often judged by standardized tests like the Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, or the Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study, TIMSS, which are considered independent of the curriculum. Student results are used to compare countries and school systems, but individual student results are never published. This means that the assessment is not intended to measure learning or to increase learning, but simply to rank and compare countries or schools. Assessment also plays an important role in credentialing. End-of-program assessments are often used to indicate that a student has achieved all of the aims of a certification program. For example, these may be certifying assessments for degree programs, medical teaching, or other licensed professionals. While individual results are calculated, these assessments are generally pass-fail exams. Assessment data may also be used for accreditation of programs or schools. The data of students is used to certify that the program has achieved the correct goals and outcomes for its purpose. When discussing assessment, it's important to note, however, that not all learning can be assessed. Student progress may not always be linear. Students may seem to improve even when their assessments do not demonstrate growth. Similarly, students may learn significantly from failures. Students' thinking may incrementally improve in a way that assessments cannot capture. For example, metacognitive skills, social learning, and other thinking skills are difficult to assess. Unfortunately, when skills that are easy to assess are focused on too heavily, it can become difficult to recognize the progress that the students make in these other very important skills. In short, assessment should measure students' understanding and assist teachers in differentiating learning by reaching all students, no matter the range of their abilities. If you would like to explore more on any of the topics discussed, click on the links provided at the end of this unit. As always, remember to observe what is happening in your classes and be a reflective practitioner.
Okay. Data use, where you can use the data you collected from assessment and evaluation. It is three main points, which is it gives you guidance for instructional improvements. Okay. Also, it gives clear identification. Identify the student's strength and weak area. Okay. And then also that informs curriculum development. Curriculum development is performed by the whole school system, right? Like, school leaders, principals, president, vice president, something like that. So they make, with that data, school leaders can make good strategy to, bring students higher understanding of the knowledge and certain subject. So that is the way we can use assessment evaluation data. Okay, we finished assessment and evaluation. Okay, now chapter 5 we're gonna do how you can actually teach certain things to your students. Okay, that is we call classroom management strategy. Okay, you always have to have plan, right? What you wanna teach. With that teaching, how you can expect from your students. Okay, what you want them to do, after teaching of certain subjects, right? So it has strategy that is explanation here. That is, let's see, effect, classroom management, that is essential for creating positive learning environment. Okay, that contributes student engagement, minimizes the disruption, right? And then enhances academic success. That is, if you do good classroom management, you can achieve those things. Okay, you can create more positive learning environments. Okay, you can make more students engaged in classroom. Also, you can minimize problems, disruption. Eventually, you can succeed in your academic goal. Okay, the range of strategy, it is include behavior expectation. Behavior. You have to watch, students' behavior. Some students have good manner in classroom, right? They respect peer student, they respect teachers, right? They do good collaboration work with other students. That is behavior. So you have to watch those things too. And then instructional design for better students understanding about some subject. So you have to design from the beginning of the semester. Okay, in the beginning of the semester, I'm gonna use some kind of more visual tools for student to understand better, right? Because if you play visual things, you can catch attention from students, right? And then once they got some idea of certain math equation, then you start to give them, the problems, right? Questions. So that is designing the class. And then also, you have to consider student motivation. Okay, yeah. You have to make students. Yeah, I want to do this. I want to do that. Something like that. And then also, you have to develop discipline techniques. Okay, long time ago, when I was in high school more than 30 years ago, in Korea, discipline for male high schoolers, it was big, stands. So teacher sometimes they hit my thighs and palm of the foot. Yeah. Sometimes we do this, yeah, but okay, that time it was understandable, okay, in that culture. But nowadays that is child abuse. So you have to develop how you can give the discipline to your students. So you have to make development. Okay, also classroom management is not only about discipline, okay, giving you good lecture, okay, it is all about building relationship. Here, relationship comes again. Yeah. I mean, every society, every form of organization, every relation, we have to make relationship. That is number one rule. Yeah. Then you can bring good business. Okay, it's a little different, topic. If you have good relationship with your customer, okay, that is, you can bring more business. Yeah. So building relationship is also, big idea in the classroom too. So also that you can establish routines. Okay, routines means once your student comes into class, they don't chat, right? First they open the book, and then they wanna look up. Today's class will be, like so. Yeah, open book, and then they prepare the today's classes. So you should make them that as routine. Okay, open the book and then read what they're gonna learn today. Yeah, not chatting with students. Also, it is fostering the sense of community. When they are in the school, in classroom, it is important for them to feel I am safe, I am comfortable in the classroom. And then you give motivation to the students. When I was in high school in Korea, some subject I really didn't like. One teacher, he was English teacher. He always bring sticks. Yeah. We are really afraid of him now because he gives question, we don't answer. Come on, man, come here. Yeah. So it was not comfortable, right? So it was not feeling, safe. Yeah. So you have to make that environment safe, happy, pleasant, environment. That is very important. How? With good classroom management strategy. I think there's a short video. Then once we play this, I think we can finish. Okay. So this is brief, class management video. Okay. So we're gonna do this later more. So let's watch how.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education with your favorite instructor, Frank Avella. This video will cover everything you ever wanted to know about classroom management. It will cover a variety of different topics. Some areas will include building a culture, setting rules and expectations, delivering consequences, and handling classroom disruptions. We will begin by exploring the teacher's role in classroom management. Understand that the behaviors of the student within the classroom are a direct product of the teacher's environment. I'll give you an example. A tale of two different teachers. You might have seen a group of students that learn and behave well for one particular teacher, but the same group will misbehave for another teacher. The difference is the teacher. Teachers,
okay, same student, okay, with different teacher, their behavior is different, okay?
responsibility to create a safe environment for their students. If they don't, expect to find bullying and abuse in the classroom. Teachers must first focus on behavior, get their attention, and then focus on learning. As each classroom is different, each teacher should have their own viable classroom management goals. The next topic is becoming seen as an authority figure. When teachers present themselves in an authoritative manner, it helps them gain the respect and trust necessary to lead students. The best way to be seen as an authority is to exude confidence. Be confident in yourself, be confident in your ability to teach. You'll never be an authority if you're afraid to challenge your students. The ability to challenge someone is a sign of strength. Next, be direct when speaking. Speak with conviction. Use strong statements to address misbehavior. Also, don't get rattled. Stay calm and maintain your composure. Show that you're always in control. Be sure to stand up straight when teaching in front of the classroom. It's a way to show confidence and power. When addressing the classroom, speak with a deep and steady voice. Do not rush your words. They should wait. And lastly, dress like an authority. It sends a message to your students that you're all about business. Now, it's absolutely necessary to build your own classroom culture, which will be a foundational support for your classroom management and instruction. Building a classroom culture begins with a vision and goals for success. What you want to do is create a shared vision with your students. Ask them what they want out of the class and out of their lives. Use that vision to create some actual SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Now, after you come up with these class goals, you need to market them. Post these goals in the classroom on the walls. Use a growth mindset to achieve the goals. It's about continually working and getting better and better until you achieve that goal. Be sure to reinforce the vision. Whenever you get a chance, give your students a pat on the back, encourage them. And everything begins and ends with assessment. Evaluate your progress toward the vision. So here are some vision examples for at-risk students. It may be as simple as an increase in attendance or an increase in reading proficiency, creating a family-like environment in the classroom, fostering friendship, decreasing bullying, or getting your students on the right path in life. The next step to building classroom culture is to incorporate rituals and themes. Teachers can use classroom rituals and celebrations to bring the class together. Know your students' birthdays and celebrate their birthdays. Take the time to plan a field trip for the class. Get them out of the building. Bring in a class pet, something like a fish. I love when I see some high school teachers greet their students with a special handshake. Every once in a while, Show a movie as a break, as a reward. Sending a positive note home will make all the difference in the world for that one child. Celebrate Student of the Month. Change it up every month. And display all your students' work, showing the world and them how proud you are of them. The third component to building a classroom culture is to meet your students' needs. All children have basic human needs that guide their behavior. Teachers should observe and ensure their student needs are being met. The two leading theories in education are by Glasser and Maslow. Glasser states that students will behave in a way to meet their needs. The first need being survival, as all children will need food, shelter, and love. The next need is to feel empowered. Children want to feel power over their lives. They want to feel freedom. They want to be able to make decisions and choices that affect their lives. Human beings are social creatures. Everybody wants to belong. So do students. And lastly, your students are going to want to have some fun. On to Maslow's hierarchy, which is similar to Glasser's. In Maslow's hierarchy, the most basic needs are at the bottom, and they move upward. These needs include physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and at the top, self-actualization. And the last step to creating a classroom culture is to create the proper environment for student learning. Teachers must make their classroom safe, clean, and aesthetic. The room should be neat and clean. It's not just the janitor's responsibility, it's also the teacher's. Ensure students are not on top of one another. They, just like anyone else, need their personal space. Lighting should be adequate in the room. They have to be able to see the board, to see their papers. Arrange the classroom in a way that limits traffic and allows students to easily move. Try and provide a quiet space. It could even be used for a timeout if necessary. Your classroom should be decorated accordingly. Science posters for science classrooms. Don't forget to include your students' cultures. The classroom environment should be a blend of the personality of the teacher and the personality of the students. That's how you decorate your room. The next section is classroom rules and regulations. And we're going to first look at rule establishments. Rules are important because they inform students of the behavior that is expected of them. When creating rules, you want to have about 3 to 5 rules. Any more than 5, and don't expect the students to remember. Have them written in positive statements. Say, arrive on time instead of don't be late. They must be clear and specific.
Okay, it is important. Positive explanation. Okay? Okay, you want student come on time in classroom, right? So arrive on time is better explanation. Okay? For don't use, okay? Don't late. Nothing like that. Yeah. That's negative expression, right? So better use positive expression. That applies to your child too. Yeah. Okay, sometimes I did this to my child. Why you do this? You know, a lot of blaming, you know, talk to my child. That was not, not good. Okay, if my children got the score in math, right? Okay, you better say, hey, honey, if you do little more hard work, you can reach 90, more than 90% of your test, okay? Do this way. Why you do this? Oh, I knew that you were, all the time you were gaming. That's why you got this score, not this way. Yeah. So, it is important, yeah. Positive way,
Avoid
expression.
writing them as long sentences. And lastly, give the student a say in the rules. Ask them if they have a problem, any suggestions about the rules.
Okay. Next
Okay.
one, we're gonna do next class.